Good morning. Welcome. My name is Bobby Spindell, owner and head trainer at Spindell Strength and Conditioning. This is the second edition today of the video chat. It's been about 2 weeks. I think that's safe to say about what we can expect. A video every 2 weeks. I'm going to shoot for everyone once a week, but 2 weeks is probably realistically what's going to end up happening. I have a list of topics I'm going to touch on as time goes by. If you have any suggestions, please feel free. I'm going to make an ongoing list of things to discuss. We can bring it on here. And if you ever have any questions with anything pertaining to what I talk about on these videos, please comment below. Once again, many others might have the same questions, so it's always good to post. So I'm going to talk about warm-ups in general today, not just dynamic warm-ups, but we have a process here at Spindell Strength and Conditioning. I like to make sure everybody kind of follows proper procedures, and I want to make sure that everybody's prepped and ready to go for every individual workout, essentially before they even meet me. What I like, my idea of time spent with each individual client is to be spent lifting, and what's important to make sure that every individual client is prepped and ready to lift before they get to me. It's essentially kind of a waste of time for me to sit there and watch you while you do your dynamic warm-up and do your foam rolling. So it's very important to me that all clients, all individuals get to the gym early before their assigned class time so they can get all this preliminary stuff down so that by the time we meet, we're ready to rock and roll. And if we can do this, essentially every workout is in the vicinity of 75 to 90 minutes. So we're looking at about an hour and a half, which is kind of ideal. So first and foremost, trying to keep this short and sweet. I want to make sure everybody comes in about, again, 30 minutes early. 5 to 10 minutes of this should be spent doing a general warm-up. General warm-up being whether it's a light run outside, hitting the rowing machine, hitting the bike, whatever, doing jumping jacks, skipping rope. Just something very general and very light. Following that, I like to see about 5-10 minutes on the foam roller. For those of you that don't know what foam rolling is, it's essentially kind of like doing deep tissue massage. You can apply it on your own with a foam roller, also called myofascial release. Essentially what we're doing is we're passively forcing blood flow into and out of the belly of the muscle. This is basically what exercise does. It's very important to oxygenate and basically just keep the mobility inside that muscle fiber, inside that muscle belly. And it's also known to potentially break up scar tissue. A lot of times people have underlying issues such as old injuries, muscle tears, strains that kind of lie just below the surface and are just waiting to show their ugly head. Foam rolling kind of provides a very basic, very passive means of warming up, which is going to just kind of prepare you for the next step, which would be the dynamic warm-up. Dynamic warm-up should only take about 10 minutes, and it should be thought of as basically like stretching, but it's not stretching. It's been proven that dynamic warm-ups is the best way to prep for any type of physical exercise. Static stretching before you exercise is kind of a thing of the past. Basically, dynamic warm-ups are a series of calisthenic exercises that are done through full ranges of motion, and you should perform every single repetition as if it were a stretch. Although we're not holding, we're not doing any static stretching. You want to basically push through the range of motion, stretch as far as you can go, and recoil and hit the other side. Most things are alternating, and that's kind of the idea. The whole entire idea of dynamic warm-ups is to essentially stimulate the body into more a three-dimensional pattern. We want everybody to be more like athletes, and essentially athletes are finely tuned biomechanical machines, and they are very fluid in all dimensions. When you don't exercise and you don't perform these types of movements, essentially we become very two-dimensional, which is how we end up developing imbalances and why we always end up developing essentially injuries as we go on in life, such as back injuries, shoulders injuries, hip injuries, knee injuries, foot injuries. All these different injuries are all due to two-dimensional lifestyles and essentially just being sedentary and developing imbalances. So dynamic warm-ups essentially kind of stimulate all these synergistic muscle groups, all these muscle groups that have become essentially dormant because we haven't been moving in these three-dimensional ranges. Muscle groups such as your glutes, your hamstrings, basically anything in your posterior chain, your rhomboids for your shoulders, lats, and we also work on a lot of stretching. A lot of these movements are actively stretching muscle groups such as the lats, such as the pecs, such as the hamstrings. All those problematic areas are things where not only are we stretching, we're stretching dynamically, but we're also activating. So in a sense, what a dynamic warm-up does, aside from prep your body, it reduces risk of injury because your core temperature up and all these muscles are warmed up and they're more pliable essentially. But you're also increasing your strength potential because what you're doing through these dynamic warm-ups is you're recruiting more motor units. You're getting more of these dormant muscles involved in all your movements, which, as we all know, the more motor units you can recruit, just like in an army, the more units you have in an army, the stronger your army is. The stronger your body is, the better you're going to perform. So that's it. I did 6 minutes. That's great. Way better than the last time. I went through that kind of quick. Usually I kind of disclose more information. But if you come into the gym, we get to know each other. We can discuss in more detail. Again, make some posts below if you have questions, and we can kind of keep pushing this forward. I think the next topic for conversation is going to be, which I kind of touched on briefly, was underlying issues that most people probably have just underneath the surface that they probably had a long time ago that are just waiting to show their ugly head again. Okay, so we're going to talk about those and what happens as you get back into exercise and how those underlying issues start to rear their ugly heads as you start to exercise. Don't get discouraged. Don't let it slow down your motivation. I have a solution. We can talk about that on the next topic. All right. So that's it. Any questions? Post below. Message me. Call me. Till we see again, or till we meet again. I'm Bobby. Signing off.